Good rising to you folks. This is the Nicola Bully case. And we have a marathon of information for you. Delightful, interesting information. Let's start off where we left off, which is the last video about this character in front of us, Jason Rothwell. The picture in front of us and the picture behind Jason in the mirror, I mentioned in my last video the staircase is to do with ascension and descension, up and down, and the doorway is to do with doorways to different places, access ways. What you're looking at in the mirror is what we call exoteric, physical, what you can touch with the five senses: touch, taste, smell, hearing, sight. So that picture can also be looked at in an esoteric manner, so a non-physical manner or metaphysical manner. The reason why is because it's a reflection in the mirror, so it's metaphysical. It's not actually the real. You can't actually touch that staircase in the mirror. So in a way, it's the reverse of the staircase and the doorway, etc., the window, the cupboard doors that you see in the back of the, I guess that's the kitchen there. So that makes the picture you're looking at in the mirror the esoteric value, the reflective value, the reversed value. And that's the theme of the evil cults. They use reversed symbolism. Now I want to pick up on an important point here, because symbols carry power due to the meaning over time. So they've been used in consciousness for thousands of years, and therefore have imprinted into the minds of consciousness, which are held in, at the moment, humans, us. So symbols have power, have meaning. When you reverse that symbol, it has the opposite meaning, the reversed meaning. The very obvious symbol utilized in this example is the Nazi symbol, the swastika. The swastika used to be a Buddhist mandala. So when you reverse the angle of rotation of what you are looking at in a swastika, which is 4 axes that, yes, are bent at 90 degrees, but they 4 axes points which exit the center point in a very male way, meaning they hold a 90-degree turn. You could equally see it as 4 vectors or set squares. The set squares used in Freemasonry. to excuse my mouse. My computer is obviously being played with, but I'm going to struggle through it. This is the vector I'm talking about. As you can see, somebody is messing with the computer, but just bear with me, folks. Excuse the unprofessionalism, but I have to struggle through it. Yes, we will get to... As you can see, I don't have control of my mouse. It goes where it wants, does what it wants. So obviously somebody's struggling against me, but let's just go back to my point, because it might come right in a bit. It might be this, it might be that. Somebody looked at it the other day and tried to sort it, said they did, but obviously the problem is still here. Right. So the yellow here, folks, I'm not going to go with the mouse. Let's just point with my finger. It's easier. The yellow over here is what you call a vector or a tick. So in the swastika, you see 4 of those out the center point. Think about the swastika, you'd see another one here, here, and here. I would just flip you to a swastika, but it's so difficult with this controlling this mouse at the moment that it's just annoying. So just bear with me on the idea. Let's use this cross over here and just think of a little piece sticking out, and you'll have your swastika. Just use your imagination there. Put one of these on there, on each one, if you know what I mean. And that's your swastika. But that swastika used to be a Buddhist mandala. The only difference is the little bit sticking off the end. So if this sticky out piece is this, and then this, so swastika has that. The Buddha mandala, they go the opposite direction. So it's showing a vortex. That's what the Nazi swastika is showing you. A male vortex of energy turning in a specific direction. I would say clockwise. Now, I stand to be corrected. I can't go and look at it exactly, and I can't remember, but I think that's it. Whereas the Buddhist symbol is turning in the opposite direction, I believe anti-clockwise. Now you ask why that's so important, and it's extremely important in the understanding of energy and energy movement, usage of energy in its electromagnetic form, which is where you get the toruses and the movement of the energy and the grid references and this specific form known as an electromagnetic orb, EMO, electromagnetic orb, or aura, the energy around your body or around every living cell of every living thing, male or female, plant or animal. So, just to reiterate, reversed symbolism is the language of evil. The language of the cults, the evil cults, the language of the Illuminati is reversed symbolism. To turn things upside down like, let's use this, like triangles, which are perfectly fine, but then we turn them upside down. So we take a triangular form and we place inside the all-seeing eye all the wisdom, and we lock it in there. When we add another one of these triangles, so imagine this is the triangle at the top, this one is this one, and we add another one on the bottom. and we lock it over, we get the Star of David. Something like that there, something like that there. Almost exactly, that's a cube, 2 cubes, but let's just try a shutter to move this thing, but yeah, here we go. Try to show you. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be many Stars of David, yeah, I'm afraid. We're on to some different subject. Let's see if we can see any. Oh, so difficult moving this. Right, just going to have to, I don't want to go and, I've got a lot of pages open as well as we go through this, so just bear with me. Think about the Star of David, folks. It is actually, well, you're looking at it, just complete that line and complete that line, and you have that Star of David. So that's easy to see there. Now, the Star of David is a 6-pointed star. It's showing you 2 interlocking triangles, which is called a tetrahedron, which is a Merkaba field of light, an electromagnetic field of light with a specific shape. That geometric shape is called a tetrahedron. That is the shape of the dimension, the 3rd dimension, which you are in. A dimension is a point or a line. So this picture has 3 dimensions, 1, 2, 3, or 3 dimensions, 1, 2, 3. You see, a dot and a line are the same thing, because a line is made of many dots. So they are both dimensions. If you think of architecture, an architect talks about the dimensions of a building. If you think about, that would be exoteric dimensions, solid physical dimensions of a building, and then you would build it. The architect would draw it, and then the builder would build it, the mason. On an esoteric level, so a non-physical level, one also has dimensions. And that is the area we are talking about when we talk about a tetrahedron, which is as you know it, the Star of David, the Israeli star, a 6-pointed star, is the shape of a tetrahedron, which is a 3rd dimensional, because it's got the 3 dimensions reversed, so interlocked is the word I'm looking for. 3 dimensions this way and 3 dimensions that way in the Star of David. Yeah, 3 dimensions this way and 3 dimensions this way. Gives you the Star of David, or the tetrahedron, in an esoteric form. So that's just showing you the difference between exoteric and esoteric forms regarding obviously the Masons, but also regarding this picture. So just to reiterate, on an exoteric level, you'd be looking at the physical stairs and stuff, which are obviously on this side, on the opposite side, because they're reflected in the mirror. And here in the mirror, you're seeing the esoteric value. So the illusory value, the hidden value, which is the reflected value in the mirror. And of course, I have to say it, the stairway to heaven. It's quite obvious. Knock and the door shall be opened. Doorway to heaven, stairway to heaven, light, doorway to the light. I mean, it's all very, very obvious, reflected as well in the mirror. While seated doing a ritual with water on reincarnation, stating you are the reincarnation of an ex-murderer, stating you murdered a woman and hid her body in your past life. There's your get-out clause. It was in my past life as Ted Bundy. Oh, sorry, that's not the name at all. I think it's Edward Thomas Lee, if I'm correct. So I want you to get an essence of this character, because when I said earlier in the video before, I referred to him as brother and then sort of snorted and said, I call too many people brother. You will understand that when we get further on to Jason Rothwell's brother and his involvement in this. Allegedly, of course. Please understand, Jason Rothwell is not a spiritual healer working with and for the light. That is not, in my IMO opinion, who Jason Rothwell is. I've been in this field for over 30 years, and I can pick out real and fake. Like I know whether the sun's shining or it's pissing with rain. You can't pull the wool over my eyes, because I don't use my eyes to see. So let's move on. Now I just want you to take the essence of my last video with this dark character. Hold that in mind as we move on. Please note that Jason Rothwell attends 3 to 4 times a week a certain church and preaches to people. In what capacity, legally, I am still trying to understand. Whether he is a sworn, signed, licensed preacher, and if so, which church he serves, or if he's a freelance evangelist, kind of like Billy Graham, I imagine. I haven't established exactly the churches, the services, what religion, or whether it's legally licensed or voluntary. I'm getting to that. If anybody can help with that part, that'd be good. So let's move on to the next clip. See what we got. Oh, shudder. Do you want to see this face today? Well, the reason why you just saw the last clip is because, and I'm not going to play it again because it's in my last video, you can go and watch it. As far as I'm concerned, in my last video, Jason Rothwell, in third person or past life person or reincarnation of, confessed to Nicola Bully or a woman's murder and the hiding of her body. Due to that fact, Jason Rothwell is obviously, and has been all along, obviously under investigation as firstly it was like a patsy, a bought-in individual, an informant, working for the cops, a paid civilian, on the payroll, as we would say. But there's a little bit more to this than that basic on the payroll for the cops idea. I would say Jason Rothwell is more on the other side of the law. And we'll get to that and his brother in a bit. Let's just bring up this other, maybe not by blood, but brother in arms or brother in cult of Jason Rothwell. These two have been discovered to be friends on FB, which is a strange connection, considering they're in the same place at a similar time, or exactly the same time, around a murdered woman whose body has been hidden for 23 days. Oh, this is weird. As I say it, I'm thinking weird. I mean, folks, let me just take this ugly mug off here for a second. No offense, brother, but you're not a nice boy. And let me put back this ugly mug, who's also not a nice boy. And let me just tell you something. Think about this fact, please. Think. If you found a woman's body in a river, reported it to the police as you should, and found it to be Nicola Bully's body of an international case going on, would you then, 8 weeks later, only 2 months later, on your YouTube channel, make a video on reincarnation, the coming back of a soul once it's left this life, stating, but using a past life as a second person, which is a common thing for people to do when they want to tell the truth but not, simply stating that you murdered a woman and hid her body, but as Edward Thomas Lee, I think his correct name, your past life male, whilst using water to describe this fact and how it works, this reincarnation from one body to another, the energy not staying in the other body, the energy totally moving to the new body, or in your case, explaining that in a reverse psychological way, in which you say, in the death of a body, all the energy, the soul leaves the body, which it does. And hence that soul can then re-enter another body called reincarnation, which it does, bringing with it all its karmic and dharmic deeds, which it does. So this guy is sitting in front of you, 8 weeks on from finding Nicola, him being the one to find Nicola Bully's body, then stating the day after on Facebook not to ask him about any further questions on how he came to know the body was there. Take away the psychic factor for a moment, because psychic mediumism is very real. But not everybody who says they use psychic or mediumship is real, or is the truth, is utilizing the truth. So let's just say he didn't find this body psychically. Did he find it randomly? Or did he know it was there and exposed it more than found it? That's a very, very good question. Especially when the same person who so-called showed the police where this body was, who knows how he knew where it was, and then 2 months later admits to murdering a woman and hiding her body, except, as I say, using second person or past life person. That person is a real person who does exist when you go and Google them, and they did murder Vera Lee. The story goes, that person, Edward, I think it's Edward Thomas Lee, his wife was Vera Lee. He had an affair with a woman, but he could not get a divorce from his wife. And he could not bear to be without his mistress. Now, forget how the story goes. I'll bring it up a little later for you. So he murdered one of them. He either murdered his wife, yes, that sounds right, Vera Lee, so that he could be with his mistress, or he murdered the mistress, but it sounds like the former. We will come to that story in a bit. Isn't that interesting? That his reincarnated self couldn't leave his wife for some reason, so he murdered her to be with a mistress. If we relate that to the hypothesis, and it is a hypothesis, that Ansel had something to do with the disappearance of his partner / wife, not married though, for another woman, perhaps Emma White, who seems obsessed with Paul, or perhaps, as some have said, Louise Cunningham, which is Louise Bully, her maiden name, Nicola's sister. But isn't that interesting? And isn't that insane? So let's go back to the original question. Would you, having found a body in an international case, come out 2 months later on your YouTube channel and admit to murder and hiding a woman's body, but speak about it in past tense. What, or past life, what would the purpose of that be? Sensationalism? Views, subscribers? Or are you confessing? Are you admitting? That's an interesting question. So let's move on and show you why I brought up the next character in the same line of questioning. Keeping in mind, these characters, they are not so smart. When you start to look at them and listen to them, their IQ and evaluate their IQ value through their vocabulary and their thought processes, these are not so smarter people. So watch for them making errors, slipping up, doing strange and incriminating behaviors, like admitting to a murder of a woman and the hiding of a body when you're the one who found her 2 months ago and haven't told anybody how you knew where the body was, bar psychic. Explain yourself, young man. Jason Rothwell. Then there's this character who was running around the site doing pretty much fuck all other than videoing the environment and making sure nobody else was doing so, in my opinion. Then tried to manipulate a YouTube channel, a female YouTube channel, and access views or access publicity through her channel. Once she understood who he was and distanced herself, he then got himself another sidekick. Yes, you know, Sammy D. And she went around and crossed a line and knocked on Penny Bunny's door, as you know. And yeah, you know, he manipulated Penny Bunny's channel and tried to utilize his introduction into YouTube through an established YouTuber, as he manipulated women in the past to do videos and shots and then utilize their footage without their permission, and a whole string of crimes attached to this character. He's not a good character to date. Perhaps he's trying to turn over a new forest. Who knows? A new woodland, a new woods, the soft ground in a woodland. Perhaps he's trying to turn over a new forest. Who knows? Why he would be digging in a woodland near where a woman went missing or was murdered, allegedly. And then, once this character or creature had attacked in his offset way, in his past life way, in his distant way, by utilizing Sammy D to go and attack Penny Bunny, once he had done that, obviously denying he had anything to do with it, because he quickly made a video immediately showing he was in his residence and it wasn't him, which of course proves quite categorically that he sent her. I mean, any buffoon can work that out. Look, if you jump on and give yourself an alibi desperately to something that's happening that you have no idea it's happening, you didn't even know she was there doing that until she phoned you, and told you this is happening, and you thought people will connect you and Sammy D, so you need to jump on and give yourself an alibi, I think you more incriminate yourself and show that there's a necessity to do that. I must desperately prove my innocence. I had nothing to do with it. Quickly, on YouTube, publicly. That's the thinking of a stupid mind. It's not a developed intellectual mind. This is not a Pythagoras. Certainly not a Plato. Maybe somebody who thinks he's Hamlet playing out Macbeth from Shakespeare Drive, which is his past address, so I can give it out. Isn't it interesting that the journalist, the freelance journalist for this Shakespearean play that's been displayed here, Hamlet and the wringing of the hands and the ruby ring and the willow, the dog, willow the tree and the river, and Orpheus in the play of Hamlet goes missing in the river, from Shakespeare Drive. Who knows? Coincidence? I don't believe in them. I just believe in signals. Now, as I was saying, these guys are not so smart, keeping in mind their minds are in the crime that they allegedly committed. Their minds are fresh. 3 months ago, allegedly, they assisted in the disappearance, vanishing, into thin air, the basic murder of Nicola Bully, allegedly. So fresh in their minds is this. They are trying to talk around this factor. They are trying to not get caught out. They are trying to use terminology nothing to do with her, murder, Nicola Bully, missing woman. They don't want to talk about that stuff. They want to move on now. But they do stumble, in my opinion. Humble opinion. So let's watch that happen, in my humble opinion. Keeping in mind, this is the drama. This guy jumped on here and did this 5 to 10 minutes after Sammy D physically knocked on Penny Bunny's door and called her the C word, which I believe she admitted to it, etc., etc. So it's not so-called, she did so. She even admitted later on in this or a further CM video that she did so. But this is this guy jumping on here to clear his name of any involvement in Sammy D and their attack, verbal and physical in a way, because she went there physically with her body on Penny Bunny. But watch what he says. Watch what he says. He tries to use an example. He purposely does not use the Nicola Bully example. He tries to use an example of a male. So a male example of assault. Just a fabricated example, possibly. Or maybe he's thinking back to something he did, which he has crimes for this type of thing. He has a criminal record for this type of thing. Being a bully, basically. Stalking, etc. So, keeping in mind the context, he's jumped on here to protect his name against being any part of verbally attacking or pitching up at Penny Bunny's house, a woman, manipulating, any part of manipulating or injuring or harming a woman. He's now defending himself against live 10 minutes after it so-called happened. Sammy D's pitched up at Penny Bunny's house. Also 3 months down the line, in my opinion, protecting himself from the involvement with Nicola Bully, her case. Watch what he says. He's talking about Penny here. Yeah, exactly. I would imagine. Fully demonic.
Boston, Lincolnshire. That's very kind of you. I'm a little bit shocked at that because you seemed against me earlier on the chat.
There's the evidence. Boston,
really
Lincolnshire just donated.
To anybody who's donated or donating.
Then he went on Penny Bunny's channel.
I don't have any.
Immediately after this, and started harassing Gemma while she was on with Penny Bunny. The night before Gemma was on with the autism, not on the autism channel, the night before. So
At the moment, I've moved and I don't have a job. I'm not really doing any YouTube. I don't have an income.
Let me just bring you back to somebody gratefully pointed out it was at 13:30. So I'm just going to go to 13 so we get the run up to what he was saying about Penny Bunny. This 13 is important, comes up later.
But that's literally all she would have done. So whatever
he's talking about Sammy D being at Penny Bunny's house 10 minutes ago.
Said will be lies. And she's not stupid. She would have probably got it on record as well, secretly, just in case it backfired. So, Trev, why do you think? Because we don't need stuff like that being posted, do we, at the end of the day? You know, you've got to think, guys, it's somebody's life here, you know, and...
Yeah, guys.
It's basically like saying... it's basically like somebody having a criminal past where they've assaulted a guy, right? They've
he has.
Bloke, right? And then it's down the line, it's made out that he's killed him. Killed him, right? Like, things are that exaggerated and twisted.
It's made out like he's killed her. So, is that on his mind, that people are making out like he has killed her, Nicola Bully, the recent her in his life? Is that kind of like a mess up there because he was using his brain to try to give you an example, but he was struggling, you know, to like create an example. And he even fumbled it and says, kill her, not killed him. Should we watch that again? It's just, these guys, I think they're starting to reveal themselves. I'm not sure if it's purposeful or stupidity, but they seem to be revealing themselves.
It's basically like somebody having a criminal past where they've assaulted a guy, right? They've punched this bloke, right? And then it's down the line, it's made out that he's killed him, or almost killed him, right? Like, things are that exaggerated and twisted.
Things are that exaggerated and twisted.
That it comes to a point when you ruin somebody's life or it affects somebody's life in a negative way.
I wonder if murder also affects somebody's life, and disappearing people. I wonder if that affects their life in a negative way. I guess so. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Oh my! I'm so sorry to start your day with Huey, Dewey, and Louie, the three Scrooges, or whatever we want to call these people. I mean, wow. You know, folks, there's something I see in the last three faces of the last three characters, and it's not a bloodline genetic connection. It's a narcissistic male dominant connection. And you would say to me, oh, please, Jason Rothwell is the furthest thing from a male dominant narcissist. He's very feminine and spiritual. Well, he is a male dominant narcissist, and I have those texts from his Facebook to prove it, which will be in the part 2 because we have too much to cover here. But he is a very aggressive, insulting, belligerent, evil character. wrapped up in what you would call esoteric magic, and probably the dark arts is a correct name for it. Keeping in mind the analysis or the character assassination, you might call it, that's a dangerous word to use, of Jason Rothwell is tattooed on his arm in the Wicca pentagram with the circular eye in the center. Seems like an eye to me. It's a circle, small pupillar circle, which denotes that he practices, and I believe from everything I've researched on him, and it's all obvious and public out there on his YouTube channels and Facebook, that he practices Wicca paganism. And he's a Wicca pagan sorcerer. And that has a dark and a light side, as every single religion does. Simply in the analogy of God and devil shows good and evil in every religion and every dual aspect. So in this case, I believe Jason Rothwell is into the dark side, as we know it in the spiritual realms. And we know CM is into dark stuff from his history of who he is and who he's presenting himself to be to date. Still lying, still deceiving, still threatening, same big oaf, as we call it. And as for this guy, he's the same. Big, dominating, male, egotistical, starstruck fool, trying to get ahead in the world of who knows what, business, infamy or fame, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same thing these days, etc., etc. But as far as I'm concerned, the last three males I just showed you are all narcissists in their own way. Dangerous narcissists. Extreme narcissists. So let's move on. Right. We've got to come to this, unfortunately. And correct me if I'm wrong. This surname is the same surname as a Mark Ansel. A Mark Ansel, note the date, February 2015, and the crimes involved here with this character. And just the surname. Many people have this surname. There may be no connection. But this date of his conviction may be connected. Maybe. It may have nothing to do with that Ansel, but may be connected. Just to show you, it's another one who is in the same field, but I'd say nothing to do with anything to do with the Nicola Bully case, but for the surname. And you can go and have a look to see where those names go. I haven't bothered yet, because this is where I want to focus my attention. this article that many people have brought up deals with a drug bust in 2016. You can go and find this article and bring it up yourself. My computer is playing up so badly, I'm just going to run you back to the beginning. Right. You can go and look at it, look up this article, it's in front of you. When you read through this article, you will find out that 3 men got a heavy jail sentence, and they're not part of what I'm talking about and don't want to talk about them. What I'm going to focus on is the 2 other men of the 5 in this gang, or 2 of the men connected to this incident and this gang, and those are Mark Ansel and James Rothwell, both arrested in 2016. They were arrested in connection with flooding Blackpool with heroin, as you see there by the article, but also in connection with the rape of a woman, an unconscious woman, which occurred at that time, in just before November 2016, when they were convicted, sentenced. Keep in mind that fact, that a woman was raped in connection with this case of the flooding of drugs into Blackpool by this gang, including Mark Ansel and James Rothwell, who allegedly, and I am still to work out if it's factual or not, but allegedly, and I have further evidence later in this video to prove or to open a conversation about it, that they are the brother of Paul Ansel and Jason Rothwell, 2 people involved in the Nicola Bully case, Paul being the partner and Jason Rothwell being the finder of a body said to be Nicola Bully's body. Right, let's get back to where we were. Perhaps this is where we are. Not sure why this page is here. I think it's gone on from... So I'm going to take it away because I don't think that's necessary, unless there's something we're missing. Right, here's where we want to be. Now, I'm not really interested in focusing on anybody else but this person. This person is the Mark Ansel involved in this Blackpool drug bust. This Mark Ansel got 4 years in prison in Broadmoor. No, sorry, I don't know it's Broadmoor. That's another connection. Mark Ansel, it may have been Broadmoor, but Mark Ansel did 4 years in prison. Released 2020. November 2020 would have been his release date. Notice security services is his business, Mark Ansel. Please take a close look at his face. Start to think of being well fed over those 4 years in prison and putting on a lot of weight, some larger cheeks, growing some hair, and of course he will have a larger stomach than he has in this picture because he looks quite fit. So please look at this picture carefully. Moving on. Now, look at that picture, by the way. Wow. Remember that arrow in that picture and the word in skip, as in the rubbish bin. The arrow is a vector. I know. You could say to me, you're pushing it. But in the very example I showed you over here, right, the arrow's there. So it's a vector, okay? And there it is in the picture. Right there. So that's interesting for starters. But this is more interesting, folks. These two boys are the bouncers who appeared to take care of the TikTokers who appeared in St. Michael's on Wye according to the Nicola Bully case. Do excuse the noise. A lovely little Bengal is playing with her new translucent trapped ball which can't get out of the circular thing, so it just goes round and round. She just keeps punching her. So cute. Anyways, getting back to these gentlemen, I want to show you this gentleman's face now, and I want you to keep in mind the face I showed you before. Look carefully at this man's face. Do you think that could be or is Mark Ansel, the face I just showed you previously? Let's jump between the two. Let's bring this into focus. Let's bring this into, let's bring it down, reduce, expand face. Go up here and pop back to what I just showed you. Cross-reference that face. I'll give you some time. Let me just set up my cross-reference that face. Hold that face. Look at the eyes, the eyebrows, the nose, the ears. The ears are the biggest thing to look at. Take your time. Think about extra 40, 50 kgs maybe, larger cheeks, larger stomach, larger build, and hair. And hair. Let's do this, folks. Are we looking at the same guy? Are we looking at Mark Ansel? Paul Ansel's brother, in charge of security, not of TikTokers. He is doing the same job CM was doing. Keeping people away from anything that could be construed as evidence in the Nicola Bully, what clearly seems to be now murder. Is that Mark Ansel on site? Now then, while we're with this, before we go on to the next character, the other one involved, as far as I'm concerned, this character, and you can go on the CM video and see, was the one digging in the woods, as far as I'm concerned. This character was the same character in the photo displayed that was kissing P.Ansell on the cheek in a social celebration, which he would be, with his brother, of course. But this character also looks like the Mark Ansel that was arrested in the drug bust and did 4 years in prison and was released late November 2020, so beginning 2021, 2 years ago. Just 2 years ago released, after being in prison for 4 years. Keeping in mind the rape of a woman was involved. We've got to ask, folks, was that woman possibly Nicola Bully, who was raped in 2016? Or was it a friend of hers, somebody she knew? Did Nicola Bully testify in the 2016 drug bust Blackpool case against this gang, including Mark Ansel and J.Rothwell, who were arrested with the other gang members? Do note the 2 detectives on the drug bust case in 2016 involving Mark Ansel and James Rothwell, P.Ansell's brother allegedly, and Jason Rothwell's brother allegedly. The 2 detectives were Detective Rebecca Smith and Deputy Superintendent, Assistant Superintendent Lawson. The same 2 detectives on the case now, except they've obviously been promoted in the last 5 years. 6 years, 7 years, where we at? 23, 7 years. 8 years, we're 20, 7 years, we're early 23. Isn't it absolutely strange that in 2016 Mark Ansel was arrested and there was a rape of a woman involved? Not to say he was the person to do it, but in the same case. And James Rothwell was arrested with Mark Ansel, showing they both knew each other. And there was rape of a woman involved. Folks, where am I getting to? Did Nicola Bully testify against these guys in this case? Is that what happened? And did Nicola Bully move house prior to the release of these characters from prison for her own safety, perhaps suggested to her by the police? Is the rumor true that she moved or was on a somewhat witness protection program? It would make sense. That would make sense. that she was somewhat being protected from these characters once they were released. Keeping in mind, James Rothwell got 5.5 years. Mark Ansel, if this is Mark Ansel in front of us, only got 4 years, released late 2020, November 2020. James Rothwell was released 5.5 years from 2016, which puts you in June 2022. Less than 6 months, or approximately 6 months before Nicola Bully goes missing. He's released from prison to do with a case connected with Mark Ansel, and it's Paul Ansel's brother, allegedly, and Paul is Nicola Bully's boyfriend, partner. Are you starting to see some connections here, folks? And here's Mark Ansel, I believe it's Mark Ansel, running the security, no doubt, Spencer Sutcliffe Security, the SSS. I'm sure everybody knows who the SSS were, the Secret Service. You can go and work out what the first S was. Here, this security company has suddenly pitched up to protect the St. Michael's on Wire residents from TikTokers. What bullshit. In their non-matching high-vis orange and yellow vests. Folks, I've been in security most of my life. That is not how it's done. That is not how a bouncer behaves, nor a security agent on the ground in any form. What you're seeing before you is bullshit. It's a joke. That is not even a matching uniform. Don't tell me these guys stand on the doors of UK pubs as bouncers in those. Don't tell me that, because it's not true. This is a bought vest. And this is a bought vest from any old DIY store for $5. This signature imprint can be printed on there at any printers for a $10 or a $5. You can get 100 of them made on internet at $3.99 a shot. Folks, crisis acting, scammers, criminals, ex-cons, hiding what? Acting as security to chase people away. Then you've got CM, Curtis Media, ex-con, involved in sex offences. You will find this Mark Ansel has this sex offence attached to him. You're starting to find sex offenders involved here in this case. Now, if you think this gets stranger, it does. Let's go. these guys, these bouncers, these false security officers, these fake security of, let me just get a better picture of that for you. There we go. Of Spencer Sutcliffe Security. Spencer Sutcliffe Security. Well. Curtis Media's real name is Curtis Spencer Arnold. Sutcliffe is referring to Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper, the serial killer, recently died in prison of the plague, I believe. The CV plague. Folks, is somebody taking the ultimate piss? Because if you look at the symbol of Spencer Sutcliffe Security, you see the tick, the vector, and you see that little round dot, the eye, the vector and the eye. And it's spinning in a vortex, like I told you about the Nazi symbol, this vortex, the direction of energy. And to be honest, and it may be my silly self, but this does look like a male standing up and a female head having been bent over. In other words, a sex position. Standing, that would be on top, that would be her on top, and that would be upside down. That may be pushing it a little far, but I have been studying the minds of these creatures for far too long, and they will get in a dig wherever they can. So I wouldn't put it past them. If you think I'm being ridiculous, please go and look up Spencer Sutcliffe Security for yourself. And what you will find, yes, you will find that connection. This is, don't give the game away. There it is. That's what you will find. That Spencer Sutcliffe Security Ltd. This one is the Street of London, United Gloucester. That's where the registered office address. Private limited company. I think you've got the idea already. There's only one company here. And where would you find this? You'll find it in Company's House, Finchley Road, 188 190. That address that keeps coming up. Folks, everybody involved in this case has a business with Company's House. Company's House is known. Their business is to open and close businesses for the business. Liquidating businesses is their business. Fraudulent businesses is their business. And here we found the Spencer Sutcliffe Security on that day. Spencer Sutcliffe. Oh my, you couldn't make it up. So, let's go back here. Excuse my mouse, it's very off the wall. Right. So there you have it, the Spencer Sutcliffe security. I think just by random I've stopped on, utilize this, and that arrow is very telling, pointing to inskip. So that's kind of a random sign that just occurred randomly in the way I'm doing this. Let's move on to the next pick and let's see what we got here. We should go forward. There we go. There's that Spencer Sutcliffe. And then there is the gentleman from the Spencer Sutcliffe gentleman, Mark Ansel, I believe. And, well, you tell me if he looks like Paul. Or you tell me if that's Mark Ansel from the picture I just showed you. Is that the same guy? It's perfect. The pictures are overlaid for you. Let's see. Let's do it right. Let's have a look at that one and then this one. Which one is that? Is that the Google there? Yes. Oh gosh, let me get this right. Oh gosh, let me get this right. So that one and this one. Look carefully. Think about slightly chubbier cheeks, a larger beard, fully ingrown here. Can you see where I'm pointing? Sorry, the camera's been bumped. So a larger beard, fully ingrown here, hair on the head. And let's see it. There it is. Let's try to expand this picture. Can't do that. There we go. Oh gosh, let's lower that so it's bigger. There we go. We're getting good here. We're getting close, folks. Let's see. See this one? Let's expand that picture. Let's bring it down. There we go, folks. Stay in the center there. And let's put the other one back. Look carefully. Let's try to bring him over center. Expand him. Don't like when they do that and disappear. Let's get this picture back. Sorry, folks. Do forgive my... Does that work? Do forgive my ignorance on how to expand a picture, etc. I don't really know what I'm doing. Need to get out of this bit. Back to normality. Just jump it over there, jump it back. Okay. I think you get what I'm saying. I think you can do the same yourselves. You can have a look. Can we expand from here? It's a bit darker, but I don't like that picture. This is lighter. Anyway, folks, look carefully at it and see what you think. There we have it. There we have the two faces at the same time. Wish we could expand on this one, can we? No. There we have it, folks. Are we looking at the same person? I would say yes. One has extra 20, 30 kgs on him. He's filled out in the cheeks. He's got a full beard and a head of hair. I may be wrong. Let me know what you think. If this is the same person, this person is Mark Ansel, Paul's brother. He's also the security guard for Spencer Sutcliffe Securities, the fake and fraudulent security company. He's also the guy in the picture kissing Paul Ansel on the cheek in a social event, which is his brother. He's also the guy that Curtis Media came across digging in the woods. What is going on with this guy? If all of that is true, and this is Mark Ansel, did he exact revenge on Nicola Bully? Both for if her involvement was some sort of witness in their case, or just for his brother, doing it on behalf of Paul, being he's an ex-con and knows kind of the ropes after being inside for 4 years. I'll leave that up to you. Here's the next name of Lancashire, England. So if it's the wrong James Rothwell, I do apologise, but we are in Lancashire, England, and this is the area and case, and this is the name. It's quite possible that this James Rothwell is the James Rothwell referred to, but it may not be. But if it is, it would be very, very strange, or not, because it seems like they're all part of it. As this, again, as you know, is Company's House. That's what this is, James Rothwell Company's House. There it is. So that would put Mark Ansel, James Rothwell, Paul Ansel, Emma White, Marsh Farm, Rowan Water Lake, Peter Folding, all with companies at Company's House. All of them running businesses through Company's House. In other words, all running possibly illegal, fraudulent businesses through Finchley Road, 188, 190 Finchley Road, I believe is the correct address where Company's House is found. Looks to me like a stitch-up, folks. Not a psyop. Looks to me like a stitch-up. There's the proof of who Peter Sutcliffe was, the Yorkshire Ripper. 2nd of June 46, 13 November 2020, also known as Peter Coonan, dubbed the Yorkshire Ripper. That's where the Sutcliffe connection comes in as far as I'm concerned. I don't mean to be funny, but he does look a bit like well, I shudder to say it. Goatee beard, rough beard, hair, that look, who knows? Anyway, that's the Peter Sutcliffe was a serial killer. He murdered 13 women. He was the Yorkshire Ripper, as far as we know. Can't say there's not a remarkable resemblance, I'm afraid. shape of the mouth, the hair on the beard, the whole trip. Wow. Interesting, folks. This is very interesting. That Paul Ansel's brother, Mark Ansel, will have accompanied Spencer from being Curtis Spencer Arnold's middle name, Sutcliffe being the murderer, this Yorkshire Ripper being this is in Yorkshire, Lancashire, and Paul Ansel looking the spit of Sutcliffe. Wow, this is some story. This, I tell you. And of course, it comes to this, folks. Who's involved? Well, that will bring us down to a certain hypothesis, won't it, really? And the hypothesis is simple. As far as I'm concerned at this point, and there will be a part 2 on this, there is only 2 possible hypotheses now. And they're the same 2 from the last video, fortunately. Was this a ritualistic, Masonic, occultic candle mass? Was Nicola Bully abducted and taken within the Rowan Tree era of the Wicca calendar by a group of Wicca ritualists, including Jason Rothwell as the main sorcerer carrying out the Wicca magic, the esoteric side, with Paul Ansel, Mark Ansel, James Rothwell, and perhaps others involved in a physical, actual Masonic ritual called Candlemas, and sacrificed Nicola Bully on the island in Rowan Water Lake on the 2nd of February, Candlemas Day, after abducting her in the Candlemas period and following the Candlemas ritualistic commands of abduction of a woman 6 days prior to the murder of her on Candlemas 2nd February. Was her body then dissected and organs taken and sold to Preston to pay debts that she couldn't pay in real life, and the rest of her body disposed of in Rowan Water Lake? Was the later body a cadaver frozen and pulled out of the fridge and plonked in the river, any old cadaver, just to be found as a sort of a shape in a bag for Curtis Media to film, and for the rest of the world to be told it's all over? 2 days after the Rowan Tree ritual period ends on the 17th of February, when she was found on the 19th, probably disposed of on the 17th because the ritual ended. That's the Rowan Tree ritual, or Rowan Tree period on the calendar, on the Wicca calendar. Keeping in mind, Jason Rothwell is a tattooed Wicca sorcerer. So that's what I'm asking, folks. Was this a ritualistic Masonic killing involving a police cover-up, being that certain police have been there for 30-odd years, have the initials MM, which is the M from Masonry, and are a highly decorated Freemason? Is that person that I'm referring to involved in any way? What went on here, folks? Did the Masons ritualistically murder Nicola Bully? Or did Mark Ansel and Jason Rothwell, brothers of did Mark Ansel and James Rothwell, brothers of Paul Ansel and Jason Rothwell, come and exact revenge on Nicola Bully for the reason that she allegedly, possibly, testified against them in the drug bust that they were imprisoned for 4 years, Mark Ansel, and 5.5 years Jason Rothwell, meaning James Rothwell, meaning James Rothwell was released 6 months ago in June. Did these guys simply plan it up and exact revenge? Or were they helped through the Masons to exact a ritualistic revenge? Was this a bunch of criminals running around committing a crime? Or is this an occult running around committing a crime? This is the question we are left with. In my next video, I will present further photographic Facebook evidence of Jason Rothwell's character and Paul Ansel's character and what they are involved in. Their own writing, their own words and their own pictures. And we will work it out together. Yeah. Just to finish off, this is what I am referring to. I don't see any other tattoos. Perhaps hidden under the tank top. Notice him and Curtis Media wear the same tops. They're buddies on Facebook. I wonder what other buddies they're on, what other book they're buddies in. The Book of Brothers. Notice this is, as I told you, the Wicca pentagram with a round circle in the center. These are vectors, so they're symbolic of your ticks. The tick and a cross. The very same symbolism you find here on the back of these characters with the tick and the circle. It's the very same symbol in a different form. I've been looking at symbolism 30 years, folks, so I have a fairly good idea of how this works. So let's wrap it up there, folks, for now. But please understand, well, I'm just going to shut down some windows, run through it as a reminder, and see if I've got any further windows to reach. That sometimes happens. Just shut these characters down. The 3 narcissists in their own form. I will prove Jason Rothwell's narcissism later. I don't think this character has anything to do with it, and I think this character is Mark Ansel. Well, I know he's Mark Ansel, but I think he's Paul's brother. So, just wrapping it up there for you folks. It's a bit of few points to ponder. A bit of mind juice, as Mind Juice would say. I didn't want to say it, but so it is. And we'll get on with part 2 very shortly. Just leaving you off with the face of a very, very strange character. Have a good afternoon, folks. I'm going to sign you out here. Just leave you thinking about this strange being. Signing out.